fear has always been the biggest political motivator, and Mussolini was the first in modern history to pursue a politics of fear and politics of grievance.
But now we are at war.
Right here is your street.
I love you all.
We want a better world.
Warten ist ein Symbol.
Those who are interested in how democracies die today should study very carefully the years between Mussolini coming to power as prime minister of a coalition government in 1922 and 1925 when he declared dictatorship. When he came back from his convalescence, he was discharged, he founded a new paper, which was a socialist interventionist paper called The People of Italy, Popolo d'Italia. So during the war, he was busy kind of founding a laboratory of fascist ideology. So the politics of fear that Mussolini played very effectively was designed to say the world will come to an end if the socialists take over, if the Bolsheviks, infect our country, and he used this kind of language of disease. And the other part of his politics of fear is that Mussolini very effectively sold Italy as a country that had been squashed by the great powers. And so there was an internal enemy of the left and an external enemy of these kind of corrupt elites who wanted to keep Italy down. And so this was a very potent cocktail of fear and resentment that he mixed up after World War I. However, the March on Rome was a bit of a spectacle because Mussolini had been offered the post of prime minister by the king. It was a kind of backroom transfer of power. And the king and the liberals thought that if they brought him into government as prime minister of a coalition government, he would calm down. Famous last words. Once his power was secured and the king called him on the telephone and he accepted on the telephone, then he took a train to Rome and he had black shirts stationed outside the city, and then they flooded in, making the appearance of an armed insurrection. But in reality, this was a kind of add-on spectacle. The king offering Mussolini the role of prime minister is one of the biggest tragedies of modern history. And the king felt really under pressure to stem the violence, of course, the violence that the fascists had caused, and then put themselves as a solution. He was a very timid personality, the king. This was not a man of the temperament who would call the troops out. He was commander-in-chief. He could have called the troops out easily to crush Mussolini. But he took the easy path, the path of non-resistance. He offered Mussolini the prime ministership, and the rest is history. He really didn't have a master plan. Many times we think that strongman leaders are evil geniuses who have everything worked out ahead of time. In reality, especially with Mussolini, who was the first one, there was no template for this. There was no template for destroying democracy. So he did what strongmen have done ever since. He decided to test. He would make outrageous suggestions. Such as staying in power for 20 years, revoking term limits, cracking down on the press, putting people in jail, and he would see how his peers reacted. And sadly, he was able to push through. So during this period of transition of 2 years, he made it very clear what his aims were, what his intentions were, but nobody stopped him.